Okay, now we're going to look at if statements and SUMIF and COUNTIF. So this is similar to what we did earlier, where we did our basic formatting and we calculated what the total is here, and we did a formula on summing the total for quantity, price, and total. Now what we want to do is add a column here that if this total is greater than 500, it's a good sale, or else it must say bad. So what we can do whenever there's something logical where you say if something happens, it must do this, or if it doesn't happen, you must do something else, you can use an if statement. So let's go in equals and type if, and you can see it comes up with if. So we can hit tab, and this is your logical test. So this is your expression on what it should or shouldn't do. Then if that passes true, it will do this statement here, and if it's false, it'll do that. So we want to say if this cell is greater than 500, comma, now you can see value if true, we want it to say good. So we put good there, and now if it isn't, if this doesn't pass true, we want it to say bad. Let me close our bracket. Now this good and bad could be other calculations. You could get as complicated as what you like. You could even have nested if statements, which means you can have an if statement, and if it doesn't pass, you have another if statement here with another two arguments. So you can have nested if statements, and I'll show you an example of that in a couple of minutes. So we've done that, and we can drag that down, and you can see that was a bad sale, good, bad, good, and good. So that's how you can use an if statement to apply logic to return something true or false. We also have an option of a SUMIF. Now what SUMIF does, it's pretty much similar to an if statement. We can say sum something if this condition is met. So you might have a lot of data in a table, but you only want the total for chairs. So you can go here equals sum if, and if you push tab, you can choose the range. So the range we want to look through is this range here. What is the criteria? So the criteria is we want it to equal chair. So we can type in text here. And if it equals chair, we want it to sum that column there. Enter, it gives us 1,200. Now 1,200, let's go and have a look. We have a chair here for 400, and we have a chair here for 800. So it's gone through this entire list, and it's only added up these two to give us 1,200. If we want table only, we could do exactly the same thing. We could go equals SUMIF, tab, this is the range, comma. Now instead of typing something in, we can just give it a cell, table. That's what it needs to match. We can go comma, sum that entire range. We can go enter. That gives us 1,5. Only adding up the table. And just like SUMIF, we have the option to count if a certain criteria is met. So again, we can type count. We can choose COUNTIF, and it's exactly the same. We can go here, COUNTIF. There is chair. Or you could put the cell. It's saying that there are two chairs. There's a chair and there's a chair. So that is sum and COUNTIF. Now, in the solution here, you can find all the formulas in case you get stuck. But when I was telling you about nested if statements, I've gone and I've added an example here where we've got lots of criteria. So is this total less than 500, greater than 1,401, between 500 and 1,000? So there's different criteria here. And how we've written that is we say if F6 is less than 500, then return, if it is less than 500, return the text less than 500. So the scenario here where it's 400. But if this is not true, then it's going to move to the second part of the if statement, where we've now got another if statement. And here we're saying, if it is less than 1,000, then we're going to put between 500 and 1,000. But if this condition is also not met, we're going to move across to this if statement, where we're going to say, if it's less than 1,400, put this text. But if that's not met, then we finally put that text. So this is what's called a nested if statement. So the second argument of the if statement is another if statement. And then again, you have two conditions. You can have another if statement in the second condition. So that's a way you can get quite creative with your if statements. So that's an example of a nested if statement there. But here we learned how to do sum a total if it meets a condition, count a total if it meets a condition, an if statement, and nested if statements.